7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's start right out. Hey, what happened?
Testing 1 2. Testing, is this on? Appears to be. Welcome, friends. Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. It's been a busy day. You ever have one of those days where you're like, I got so much to do, and you start doing it, and then all of a sudden the day blows up because you got better stuff to do? That happened to us today. So that's what the show is all about. Is always brought to you by Easy Auto Financial. Looking for a car and financing for free? Go to easyautofinancial.ca, as well as our friends over at Domination, domination.com. If you do content, try them for free today, dmntn.com. And our friends at Ed's, his Gitch are the best, GITCH, and then the number 3. That's your promo code. Go to edsfineimports.com, order a couple of pairs, and you'll get another one for free. edsfineimports.com. Well. What do we have here today? Let's welcome in the program James D. Fiore from Blackballed the Podcast and blackballmedia.ca. He joins us at James D. Fiore on Twitter.
Is that real leather?
Cross. Yeah, that's real leather. Lachlan Cross. Yeah, you're wearing a real leather
It's not
blazer.
even,
You are.
It's nylon, for fuck's sake.
It's a nylon blazer. Lachlan Cross from 95.7 Cruise FM in Edmonton. He joins us as well. Also,
Cotton.
Cotton.
100%. Might be a mix of polyester.
Like a little rayon in this bad.
I kind of like an 80-20. I'm an 80-20 guy.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Sweat's better.
Lachlan also is on Twitter at Lachlan Cross, where you can find him. And please
Follow me.
welcome to the program.
We may lose a couple followers today, so I need to replenish.
Please welcome to the program. He is the owner-operator. Is that correct? Owner-operator of a website called Lead Stories. His name is Martin Shank, and he is a fact-checking ninja. Joins us all the way from Belgium. Please welcome Martin Shank. How are you, Martin? Nice to see you.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm good.
Let's deal with the hair right out of the gate.
Shirt. Yeah, let's deal with the hair and the shirt. First of all, I got all kinds of love and time for someone else that rocks Arctic blonde like you do. Congratulations. But the shirt is fucking fantastic. If you can't see it, folks, Martin is wearing a shirt. If you're not joining us on YouTube, Dean Blundell Show or YouTube, or Twitch, Dean Blundell TV, his shirt says, quote, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Brilliant.
a gift from my colleagues. We had our
Humble.
first in-person meeting in 2 years last week. Finally, I was able to travel to the United States to see my colleagues again with all the COVID travel restrictions. So we had a bit of fun with T-shirts.
Yeah. Well, it's a great shirt because it's totally fucking true. I feel like that all day long. Like when I log on to Twitter and someone's like, how come everybody is vaccinated still might get it? And I'm like, oh, fuck. I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you.
Yeah, it sometimes feels like we're carrying water to the sea. Like it's
Yeah.
the endless...
Like, tell me, water to the sea. Tell me what Lead Stories is. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Martin, and what Lead Stories does, because you guys do some work that a lot of us wish that we could do on our own, but we can't. And it cuts through all the bullshit. So tell us about Lead Stories, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so Lead Stories is a fact-checking website that I co-founded with Alan Duke, a former CNN journalist, a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And it basically came about because of a little invention I did called the Trendalizer, which is a software tool we use to find out what's going viral online. So it's sort of our private search engine that collects links on the internet and measures which ones are getting the most engagement on Facebook and on YouTube and Twitter and sites like that. And then we basically started a couple of years ago looking for the trending stories that seemed off. And then we did a thing called journalism on them and checked the sources and called people and verified documents and stuff, checked if the photos were real or if they were maybe 5 years old, so they could not be from the current event. And then we started writing articles about that on our website, leadstories.com. Mm-hmm. And then people Googled, is it true that blah, 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 blah. And if it turns out blah, 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 blah is not actually true, then they would find us at our website. And so a few years ago, we started working for Facebook in the Facebook third-party fact-checking partnership. So now if we find some article or some photo or some post going viral that's not actually true, we write up an article with the reasons and all the evidence, and now we report that to Facebook, and then every copy of that link gets a little flag on Facebook. Those notifications, independent fact checkers have checked this and found it to be false. That's us.
So the warning labels when someone's on Facebook and it's like something pops up with a news story and it's like, hey, watch out, this might be bullshit. That's you?
Yeah, that's us. So awesome. Yeah,
that's kind of cool. I knew that there had to be some sort of structure behind it, right? Some sort of organized system behind it. I had no idea it was you. How many companies like you work for Facebook, or do you have an idea, Martin?
So for North America, it's about 10, and worldwide, it's, I don't know the exact number, but 80, 90 or something like that. So there's quite a lot of us, but there could always be more.
It's somewhat of a full-time job, I'm guessing?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's not like it's a hobby. He doesn't go home after a long day at the factory and go, let's see who's full of shit today.
Let's just keep everybody straight.
Yeah, every day I go to work and like, is there something false on the internet today? And usually there is.
That's tricky with social issues, isn't it?
Yeah, but we try to avoid the opinion-y stuff. Like, do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing? Well, that's opinion. We don't fact check that. But if it's clearly wrong, like did Kyle Rittenhouse carry a rifle across state lines? No, he didn't. Sorry, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Does that mean Kyle Rittenhouse was a smart kid who was doing smart things? Yeah. Probably not. But that's opinion. So that's none of our business as fact checkers.
So always goes back to the shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. Go ahead, Loxer.
Martin, what if I lie about my penis size? Is that going to come up? And is that going to get flagged?
Unless it's going very viral, then we probably won't bother.
No worries. We're good.
Okay, so effectively, Lead Stories employs this software that you've created called the Tendalizer. If that's
Tendalizer,
the Tendalizer, which I think is a great name. It just sounds like something I could eat. But you got the Tenderizer.
Or get in a sex store.
Yeah, not bad. I brought home the 12-inch Tendalizer. It's awesome. But you've got
hangs in the shower.
Yeah, when I'm not using it. So you've got this thing called the Tendalizer, double-ended. No, I'm still going with the jokes. Never mind. So you got this thing called the Tendalizer. And when something catches your attention, how do you then run it through the software, and how does it work? And what do you put it through where you can obtain a great amount of certainty that what you're fact-checking or the person you're fact-checking is indeed a lying asshole?
Good question.
Thank you.
So the Trendalizer by itself does not tell you that the article is written by a lying asshole. So the Trendalizer just tells you this is going very viral and a lot of people are talking about it and liking and sharing it.
Okay.
So the first thing we do is check, is this article the original source? Because often people copy-paste stuff from each other on the internet. So we try to find the original source.
Yeah. I do it a little bit. Yeah, I cut.
Yeah.
Paste. Yeah.
And then we do this little thing called journalism. Like, we actually call the people involved. Like, if the story says, research paper says XYZ, first of all, we read the research paper. Like, we try and get our hands on a copy. We might call the scientists. We might call other experts. And they might tell us, oh, no, this is a totally wrong interpretation by some crazy anti-vaxxer who doesn't understand statistics. Or we might discover, oh, this is a preprint on some website and it hasn't been peer-reviewed, so it's not called a scientific study, it's a PDF on the internet. So and we perform those kinds of things. Like if an article says celebrity XYZ is dead, we call their manager or we check their Twitter feed. Like, oh no, he posted a picture from Planet Hollywood 10 minutes ago. So this is probably made up. Like basic fact checking, really.
Yeah.
So
Is
you
there
put in the
anything-
work. That's
Yeah.
all you do. You just put in the work.
Anything you can do about the Island Boys? Can we like scrub them, Martin?
The who?
He's not
Don't
a
worry
Bond
about it.
villain, for God's sakes.
Just a couple of annoying white kids that think they're from the island. Don't worry about it. You don't need to.
Do
get
not
wrapped up
Google
in
that, Martin.
Yeah, that's all.
It'll be a
bullshit. I can tell you that
wormhole.
right
You
now.
do not want to go down, and you will regret talking to us.
Googling
Okay.
is a lot of what we do, actually.
I bet you do. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing,
But
right? Like as a
we
fact
don't-
checker.
We don't stop at the first result like many people. Like
Yeah.
many people Google something and, oh yeah, there's the first result, and that's...
Mhm.
Do not do that. Read the other results too. And
I like Bing.
Yeah, big Bing fan. Me too. I like Brave because no one can see what I'm doing. Anyway, what I want to talk to you about something that you put up. That's why we're here. We're talking. Is that you put up an article, and I'm just gonna throw this. I think I got it right here. Where is it? I'll just throw it up. You put up this article about wrong one. Doesn't matter. You put up this article about a website called the Conservative Beaver. Now, the Conservative Beaver, before we get to the story, is a website that we've made fun of here many times.
We love.
I
the
remember, I know, it's fucking incredible, right? I remember once going to my friend's house and his wife, who's QAnon, came running in. She's like, "Did you hear the good news? The Pope got arrested for having sex with kids." And I'm like, well, that's weird because I'm watching him on the screen of on the balcony of the Vatican right now, so it's kind of bizarre. And it can't. And I said, "Can I see your source?" And she's like, "Sure." Showed it to me. Conservative Beaver. That's a year ago. But you put this article out, and it caught my attention because people started pounding me with this article because the article was about a guy who has done some contract work for us in the past named Mark Slapinski. Now, we've had Mark Slapinski on this show a couple of times. He's gotten into some hot water with some Nazis. He's gotten into some hot water with a bunch of people. We've tried to defend him. We've watched him, put out videos. Like there was that one video I asked him to take down where he put up a video where he's like, we should have concentration camps for anti-vaxxers. And I'm like, fuck, dude, you can't do that. You got to take it down. Some questionable
You were doing
stuff.
that, but hold on. I want to point something out. Because this will clarify the relationship that Dean has with Mark. Mark is a content producer. Dean will every once in a while use him. Some of the stuff that he puts out there is engaging. We thought engaging enough to bring him on the pod.
Right.
Dean would put him on the podcast or on his webpage, deanblundell.com. He's a writer. He's a reporter. And when we've had him on, he is not like an employee of Dean Blundell. But during that time, this relationship has built a minor one, but a relationship. And Dean felt obliged as a friend to give him advice on that video, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that, to me, needs to be said out loud. He didn't take it down because you have any control over Mark or what he produces.
No,
I think that's important to say. You sent him a note saying, "Hey, Mark, I think people might be missing your poor attempt at humor."
Right.
And as a friend, you might want to take that down because it's not good, right?
And he did. Eventually, he ended up taking it down. But let's get to it. He's the Canadian Conservative Beaver. Like, we just found this out. And let's get to the article that you wrote. Because you're in Belgium. You write an article about Mark Slapinski being a massive pusher of disinformation because he's wanted because Pfizer wants to fucking serve him with a lawsuit. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So, of course, the Conservative Beaver had been in our crosshairs for a long time as fact checkers. Like this site published another spectacular and false story every week. So they did stuff about the Pope being arrested, about Soros being arrested, about people in the US being found alive that were actually found dead later, and stuff like that. So the site, everything it publishes is made up, or at least everything that it publishes that goes viral is made up. So they published some probably stolen content on the front page, or copy pasted or rewritten content on the front page that's real news, but the false articles aren't visible on the front page. So those are on hidden links that are only spread around through social media. So we were aware that this site was publishing bullshit, and so one of the interesting functions of the Trendalizer is that it also collects what we call the fingerprints of a website. So websites that run advertising, they have codes on them that uniquely identify the advertising account, so where the money goes if people actually click on the ads. And by comparing those IDs across websites, it's often possible to see, hey, the money being made through ads on these and these and these websites is going to the same person. There's also things like...
And who was the money going to from the conservative beaver?
Well, you can't tell. So, but you can tell it's the same person. But we noticed that the same advertising ID had appeared earlier on a fake news website called Toronto Today, which was a new incarnation of an earlier fake news website that we also debunked stories from, called the Red Panther. And on both those sites, on the About page, it proudly listed the name Mark Slapinski as the founder. And so at the time, so it also had his email address, as you just showed. So that Mark Slapinski at ymail.com, not gmail.com, but ymail, which is some other service. So that address was the contact email on those sites, or at least on one of those sites. And we noticed that the conservative beaver was using a service called Gravatar. Maybe Mark didn't know it. He just auto-configured it in his WordPress installation. I don't know. But the interesting thing about Gravatar is that it's a service online that generates a unique avatar image for you, so that you can reuse it on multiple sites, so that you can present yourself as the same person. And your Gravatar image is based on your email address. So it also generates a unique code that's tied to your email address. There is no way to recover your email address from that code, but there's only one way to go from your email address through that code, and that's called an MD5 hash. That's some mathematical stuff. And so I noticed that the Gravatar on the conservative beaver of the main account posting all the fake news had the same MD5 hash as mark.slapinski at ymail.com. So, yeah.
So can I ask a question?
So it's him. It's
and
Mark Slipinski is in charge of a couple of major disinformation sites, junk news, fake news, for the express purposes of generating money from creating chaos, correct?
Yeah, I'm 99.99999% sure. Like, there's always a chance some space alien set up a fake website and put in his email address and his advertising codes.
You're an atheist, not an agnostic. We got it. Don't worry.
So I have a question. How lucrative is this, Martin? Do you have any idea what Mark may have been making to publish this information?
I have no idea, but from my experience with previous fake news websites, which we've seen, that can easily run into the thousands of dollars.
Wow.
But yeah, it could be vastly more. I mean,
I thought you were joking.
We don't know what his traffic was, but yeah.
No, but you just said it easily run into the thousands of dollars. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Per article, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, if it's a really viral article, yes, that can happen.
Okay, per link. Okay.
So how many times do you think, like, just for example, when Mark Slapinski shadowed the story about the Pope going out. How many people saw that? Which was a total fucking lie.
I have no idea, but it was huge, and it's
Like
not just on
millions.
his. It's not just on his own side. So the Conservative Beaver is one of those sites that, after a while, all kinds of grifters and copycats, they know what the good sites are, where stuff gets written that tends to go really viral. So they just straight up steal it and push it on other sites.
So I read today on the article that you wrote, really detailed. It's really good. And then on his site, wasn't there or isn't there some sort of like disclaimer that said that some of the material is satire? And could that be used? I don't know if this is your area of expertise, but could that be used as some sort
Legally,
of legal defense thing? You know?
My understanding is that he might very well try to use that as a legal defense thing, but so there's also this thing called the Internet Archive, which I also heavily use in my article. So the Internet Archive has a thing called the Wayback Machine. They basically try to make snapshots of the entire internet and let you see how websites evolved over time. So using the Internet Archive, you can see exactly when that disclaimer about satire was added, and that was about 2 days ago.
Well, let's go through part of the article. You wrote this. Go to leadstories.com to read it. This is about a guy who did a little work for us, completely misrepresented, lied to us, didn't tell us that any of this stuff was going on. So while he's writing stories about, anti-vaxxers and political unrest, he's also pumping out stories about the Pope being a pedophile and what has gotten him in trouble, which it says here. November 5th, 2021, a website named Conservative Beaver published a false story about the CEO of Pfizer being arrested for fraud. We talked about that on the show. We talked about how this happened.
I think
and we didn't know where it came
we
from.
cited Conservative Beaver.
Yeah, and we shit all over it. It was Slipinski. The dude was like a fucking fox in the henhouse the whole time. Says only a few days later, falsely claimed Miriam Bourla, the wife of Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla, died because of vaccine complications. The fake stories generated massive amounts of engagement on the anti-vax circles. This is, by the way, Martin's work. Predictably, Pfizer wasn't happy. According to Courthouse News, they filed a petition. This is Pfizer worldwide.
Yeah.
Filed a petition with the Supreme Court of the State of New York, November 16, 2021, to compel hosting company DreamHost to reveal the identity of the site owner with an eye to further legal action. From the filing, it says the petitioner intends to file a lawsuit against individuals operating the Conservative Beaver for, among other things, defamation. To date,
He's
the petition,
pissed.
dude, these guys are not fucking around.
No, Albert, the head of Pfizer is fucking mad.
Well, that's because it sure looks like Slipinski said his wife was dead, knowing full well she wasn't, so he could make some money on the internet.
Wow,
like fucking
even Bonzi
degenerates.
wouldn't say that.
No,
he's screwed.
The petitioner is not having taken reasonably diligent steps to be able to determine with certainty the identity of Jon Kay. The website in question does not identify the registrant or the operator, nor does it provide any physical address, phone number, thereby rendering it impossible to identify John or Jane Doe, which is, as Martin has found out, is Mark Slapinski, correct?
Yeah, it certainly looks like it from the clues I've been able to gather, because Slipinski also has this other website called Toronto99.com, which he lists on his Twitter profile. And I found out, so this is a WordPress site. So on WordPress, you can get a list of the users of the site, so the user accounts. And there is this account, which is listed in my article, which is using the Gravatar service to generate an avatar. And you guessed it, the ID in that Gravatar URL is exactly the same as the one that I found on Conservative Beaver, based on the mark.slapinski@ymail.com email address. So
he's effed, eh?
He's fucked.
It's like,
he's fucked, and which is why I wanted to have Martin on, because I'll tell you what had happened. We'll get to kind of the rest of the story. So someone sends me Martin's story yesterday, and I read it. Actually, it was Karima. She sends a story to me, and I'm like, I'll ask Mark about it later because we were like getting ready to do the show yesterday.
Yeah.
And so I send him an email, a DM, and I'm like, so what's this all about? Here's the exchange. This is literally my DMs. I have literally liberated DMs for this break. I said, someone sent this to us today. Just wanted to get your take. Zero judgment. He says, we'll talk later. I pissed some people off. Kay, no problem. Do you have any juice behind conservative beaver? Because I wanted to know. He didn't answer. The next day, 5 hours later, I respond to him. Hey, man, I'm going to need some kind of details about what's up. We try to lay everything on Front Street, and I'm going to have to answer some texts and tweets because now the tweets are starting to roll in. Hey, is this your guy? This your boy?
Slappy.
Yeah, about Slapski.
Didn't you guys have him on? Doesn't he contribute every once in a while to your
And you know what
webpage?
happens in this world? Everybody's like, now we can't believe anything he says. You cannot believe anything Mark Slapinski says, by the way. But anyway, that's another thing.
That's a real slap in the Pinsky.
Isn't it? So anyway, I say to him, I need to know the truth about what's up. He goes, I plan on getting back. Just shook right now. Hey, way to go, Martin. You shook him. They're trying to tie me in with some junk website. I said, are you affiliated with them at all? His response, no. What Mark doesn't know, though, is I spent a lot of time on the phone with Martin today and got all the receipts, so I know it's him. He says, I'll address it publicly if the story spreads. I don't want to say too much publicly because it'll just spread the story further. Right now, it's some blog, which is rich coming from a guy who spreads stories for a living. And
some blog, second largest fact-checking website in North America. Okay. Just some blog.
Hold on, Martin, what did you just say? It's the second largest what?
Well, there recently was an academic study done about the productivity of fact-checking websites, like who writes the most fact checks.
Mm-hmm.
How do you fact check that story?
And so last year, PolitiFact was number 1 and we were number 2, and Snopes is number 3 in amount of fact checks written. But we're just some blog,
Just some blog, according to Slipinski. Yeah, because what he's doing is trying to discredit everybody that's attached to this right?
That's attached to it
now.
Yeah.
So he says, I'll address it, just a blogger. I said, hey, man, we have the guy who wrote the story on you and your connection to the conservative beaver today if you want to join. I spoke with him as part of my due diligence, and we'll be addressing it because we have to now. Just giving you the chance to rep your part. He goes, you're giving this hatchet job oxygen? I have nothing to say. I'm not responding to him. I go, yeah, because I spoke with him and I spent several hours doing due diligence in the story. It's a big deal to me and us. He showed me everything this morning. You've offered very little details. It all points to you and your involvement. I'm happy to hear your side of the story privately, but you don't seem to want to talk about it. If it had nothing to do with me, it was under a microscope, I'd want to talk about it. If it's true, none of the stuff you've done with us can be seen as legit and greatly affects what we're trying to accomplish. I said, I'm not angry. I just want to deal with this properly. I also, and then after I sent that to him, I said, I also think it's unfortunate you put out a video and I'll get to that in a second, because he put out a video blaming some Nazis for you doing your due diligence there, Martin. You'll love this. But then he says, I guess
what we
so.
know about the Dutch.
He goes, I stand by that one.
They're real Nazis.
Then he says, this is at 2:00 in the afternoon. I defended you and Karima over stuff. Don't know what that means. If you're afraid of this hurting you, you can quietly cut ties with me. I'll understand. But giving this guy a full interview, I feel sort of betrayed, and it just spreads it farther. Nobody else is giving it any airtime. It has hundreds of thousands of views, you reject. Anyway, I said, dude, you've been drilling disinformation for a long time. My time. Playing it any way you can, it seems. It appears you've been less than truthful about the nature of some of your work, and that's a problem for me. I can't defend it, and I have to address it. I'm offering you the opportunity to meet with the guy who says you're full of shit. I said, I'm not mad. It's not a con job, but at least you have to have the stones to represent yourself truthfully. Then he brings up the article of me getting fired 8 years ago for making fun of a rapist, and he says he defended me over it, then says good luck, and he does not spread disinformation, right? Which is really unbelievable, because we've just heard from Martin. We have all the receipts, like this one that has his email address on it, from the Conservative Beaver, from the Red Panther, from Toronto 99, from Toronto Today. The dude runs a disinformation empire for money, and he is not a fucking journalist. He is a lying bag of shit.
Whoa. You know how these things can spread. by people like Mark Slapinski. So,
Let me
go ahead.
ask
Yeah,
a
and
question
we
may
tried
not know.
emailing him.
What's
Like
that?
we tried emailing him, like
Yeah.
before we published the story. Like, hey, are you the conservative beaver? I sent email to every email address I could find for him. He didn't reply, and then I tried DMing him on Twitter with the Lead Stories account. He blocked us.
Yeah.
I also tried reading his Twitter account using my own personal @mschenk account. I was already blocked from last year, apparently. Like with Toronto Today, at first I thought, I mean, he had me fooled. I thought that was a legitimate website. So when we saw some of those fake stories pop up there, because the front page looked like a real news website and the fake stories couldn't be found from the front page. So I thought, hey, maybe this guy's website's been hacked. Maybe I should warn him. So I sent him an email back then like, hey, it looks like you're running a legitimate news website, but somebody is posting these stories on your site. Maybe you got hacked. So he didn't reply back then, but yeah, he blocked me on Twitter. So yeah,
So
I mean, if I was being accused of running a fake news empire,
Yeah.
I would at least deny it. I would not post a vague video on Twitter or on TikTok saying there are dark forces working to censor you or whatever he did earlier today.
do you have
Like,
that? Do you
he
have that
pissed off
video?
powerful people.
Oh, yeah,
Powerful
okay.
people.
Dean,
I'm just some fact checker from Belgium. Like,
Dean,
and
he
he
didn't put up the
piss me
punchline
off. He just got caught.
Dean, put up the punchline from what he sent you today.
Which
Right.
punchline?
This is crazy.
The punchline being like in a DM, he's like, "Man, I defended you on."
Oh
this."
yeah. So
Yeah.
the whole thing where he's like, as you can see, he's like, I defended you over
Oh.
this. So he's mad that I didn't. And I don't remember him defending me over this story about me being painted as a homophobe for making fun of a rapist.
8
But
years ago.
it happened 8 years ago. I've talked about it several times. I could give two fucks. I'll talk about it all the time. I'll do a whole fucking show on it if someone thinks. And
I'm already blocked. He's already blocked me.
Oh, for sure he blocked you, dude. He blocked all of us. He blocked every single one of us. As soon as I said, hey, we're talking about it, he went through the thing and blocked because he's guilty as fuck.
I'm
That's why.
unsavory enough for him maybe not to block me. We'll see.
You probably blocked it. But anyway, the great part is that he's like, I defended you over this. He said it several times. An hour after he basically says, good luck, I'm out, fuck you, at the end of the tweet. Then, because he's a real fucking stud, and he's like one of those dudes that you're like, hey, man, I just want to be with a rock. I just want to hang around with a real stud. Then he blocked me because he's a pussy. Like, just instantly
Read those
blocked
little
me.
Post-it notes that are hanging up on the wall of that picture he took.
We demand truth. We demand action. Justice cannot be achieved without the truth. We demand. He doesn't know the truth. He's fucking not a friend of the truth. But here's the funny part. As soon as he blocked me, he posted a video or the archive of the story of me getting fired 8 years ago. And says, Dean Blundell show canceled after suspension for on-air homophobic commentary. Then he goes, I wasn't aware of this until just recently. Meanwhile, 2 hours earlier, he's like, I use this to defend you.
Well, Dean, it seems he wasn't the only one who wasn't aware of something until just recently.
Yeah, like I had no idea Mark Slapinski was one of the biggest purveyors of bullshit in the country, maybe in North America. Where do you put his, like, the operation that he had? Because, like, had I seen any of this stuff on Toronto 99, I would have just pumped him. By the way, don't go to Toronto 99. It's garbage. But, like, how does he hide those posts in a site like that? How does he?
Yeah.
How does that work? Because, like, from what I'm saying, and I'd love your thoughts on this, Martin. It's like he has this front of a journalist and he's trying to pretend like he's for real. Meanwhile, there's this really dark side of him that likes money, which we all do. And he's using really terrible, dangerous bullshit and disinformation to fuck over people that might be reading it or might have mental issues or might be anti-vaxxers, whatever the situation is. And he's profiting off this is what it looks like. But, like, what do guys like this normally do, and what is he going to do now from your experience?
Well, I've seen several fake news empires in my day. So I've seen networks run by a guy in Africa who ran dozens of sites aimed at English-speaking readers all over the world, and they used the same formula. Like they had fake front pages with legitimate news stories that they usually stole from the Guardian or the BBC or the New York Times. And there are plugins in WordPress that you can use to keep certain stories off the front page and out of the search results on your site. So they basically use that, and then they take those links and spread them via social media, like dump them on Reddit or dump them on Telegram or dump them on Twitter using bots. I don't know what exact method Mark was using. I've looked, but not very hard. But yeah, obviously these links were going viral. And yeah, we've seen several other sites apply the same tactic, like have a fake front page with legitimate news stories, and then put the fake stuff kind of like in the back. What they typically do when they get found out is deny everything and claim they got hacked, claim the fact checker is connected to someone that they don't like, oh yeah,
Mark
the fact
Zuckerberg.
checker must be funded by China or connected to George Soros or have some evil blah 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 whatever. But they never go into the real issue, like why is your email address and your advertising code on a fake news website? Like that would be the first thing that he would need to explain if he had any integrity.
And he doesn't, right? Like you don't think that?
I don't know.
That I find really kind of, I don't know what adjective to put on it. Hilarious, I guess, sleazy. But like he presented himself as this like, you know, really staunch progressive. You know, I'm really like up to date on the woke shit, and then would plaster the internet in his spare time with like total like feeding right wingers, like the rabid right wingers.
That's bizarre about this case. Like this is quite unique. This is something I haven't seen before. Like he has this persona of being the legitimate journalist
and very liberal and wildly liberal.
Like most fake news guys, that they put up those phony real stories on their front page to cover their tracks. But this guy seems to run a quasi-legitimate news website on the site, which is probably something he learned, like the Toronto Today website. He tried to mix it there, but he got found out. And I've seen tweets that he claims his website got hacked.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he got that idea from you, Martin.
So yeah, I don't know. And then he seems to have launched Toronto 99, which is my new website, and it's all going to be better and blah 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 blah.
It's garbage.
And on the side, he launched the Conservative Beaver. At least it looks like it, because his email and his. I mean, these guys always make a mistake. They reuse an old advertising code. Like that's how we found out a whole bunch of networks in Macedonia and Pakistan running fake news.
Yeah, because they do part of it, but they don't do all of it, right? Like Mark left behind his email address with the Conservative Beaver. Mark left behind his email address with all kinds of different websites, and they all track back to him, which is fascinating. But let me just
I can guarantee that he won't do that on his next website.
No. Well, I can't wait to see what he's involved with, because all I'm going to do is shit all over it.
Do you run a web page from jail?
I don't know. Do you want to know? Do you want it? So when I asked Mark, and he's like, "No, it's dark forces are against me." He says, "Dark forces coming for me," and I'm like, "That's weird." So he puts out this video. Keep in mind, we've got the guy that wrote the article. He's told us and showed us the tech, and brought receipts that this is Mark Slapinski's shitty little fake news site, and Mark's lying, completely lying. And not only is he lying, and this is the fucking great part, he's now blaming a former... Well, fuck. Here's the video. Watch who he blames for this. Not you. Some dude that was in the army that he hates.
As a result of my advocacy for vaccines, specifically mandates, I found myself in the crosshairs of real neo-Nazis that want me dead. Specifically this guy. I'll show you a clip.
Rumble PPC says, I'm in Toronto and Mark Slapinski is a Cirque. He 100% is. He's the same guy who owns Toronto 99 News, and he was so happy seeing freedom fighters get the beatdown from Aussie cops.
So he's blaming this guy. He's blaming him. He's blaming...
Oh, no, he actually posted it before my article went live, because that clip is included in my article. I have to fact check you there. Sorry.
He probably fancies himself, Mark, as like this dark villain. But I don't know if you guys ever watch Wildcrats, but he's like Zach Varmatek. Do you know the villain on Wildcrats?
No.
Oh, you do.
We don't watch kids' TV.
Oh, well, you should, because
We're
that's
adults.
who he is. He's a child's villain, right? Like,
yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah, he has this other clip that he posted. I'm trying to find it here. Yeah, he blocked me on Twitter, so I have to be in an anonymous browser window and all that stuff.
You won't say anything.
He posted this tweet: independent media is under attack. I will not be intimidated or silenced.
So he's playing the victim, which is
card, and now he's a martyr,
dude.
Dean,
and
you
he's
made him a martyr.
and he's still he's a fucking lunatic. He's a loser, and he's
dude. If you
shit,
didn't
and
do
I am
it,
going
you
to
just go
bury
like this.
him.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
I'm going to bury him. That's my job. My job is to bury this guy, like to absolutely ruin his life now. Because look what he's putting up. He goes, "I was warned about Dean by others, but I mistakenly took his side without doing my homework." There's a reason people don't like that guy.
Who's Steve-O? Is Steve-O a guy
hold on
you
a second.
used to work with, Dean?
There's several reasons that you
some
don't want to like you, Dean, but those aren't any of them, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. He's like, I was warned about Dean by. So is that what these guys do? These douchebags that create disinformation sites just to be cocks? Do they go
for
after
money?
the?
I think.
Do they? But because he's not admitting to any of this, even though we've shown all the receipts, and he's not going to sue us because he's a fucking liar. And I've got him dead 12 ways to Sunday, and I've already sent those tweets to my lawyer, and my lawyer's going to go after him too. So, is what's the recourse for him though? Like, I'll take care of him civically, and I'm going to fucking bury him here. But let's talk about Pfizer. Like, is Pfizer wants Mark Slapinski in a courtroom? Do they not?
They want him on a spigot.
Martin?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know.
How it all
my
works.
only experience with defamation lawsuits is the one that Candace Owens brought against Lead Stories for fact checking her, which we won. But yeah, I think Pfizer has probably a good case, because spreading the news all over the internet that your wife is dead and that you've been arrested for fraud while you're running a major important company, that must cause some real damage to the stock price, or at least to your emotional well-being if you love your wife. So
the good news,
be too hard to prove damages.
Yeah. The good news for Mark, and he's probably listening, so I just want to make him feel a little bit better, because he's probably not going to sleep well tonight, but this might help. I don't think Pfizer has a lot of money, so you should be fine. He's fucked.
He's fucked. He is so fucked.
They're going to come after him.
If, as Martin has pointed out, he's 99.999, I believe there was 5 nines in that, 999% sure that Mark Slapinski, the dude from Toronto 99, is involved with the Canadian Beaver, and Pfizer wants a piece of his ass.
Wow.
It's done. I mean,
you know what?
Pfizer exists in Canada. They're going to fuck him over. What's
this is like a daily roller coaster, this fucking thing.
Yeah,
I mean, a fun ride.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
The smart thing would probably to be like, ha ha ha, I was only joking. Can't you see this was all satire? But instead is, dark forces are conspiring against me. I pissed off powerful people. Yeah, sure.
You better go to Brazil.
Are you a dark force, Martin? Or are you just a dude in Belgium?
Really. And I'm not really a powerful force either, so I'm just some fact checker from Belgium.
Well, you just effed him.
Oh, yeah. But you must take great pride in your work. Like, you know, I was looking through some. If you go to leadstories.com, at leadstories.com, or follow Martin on Twitter at mshank, some of the stuff that you've had to debunk is like the wildest, weirdest. Like, and it's like, no, Satan didn't reappear in Times Square, and like this kind of stuff must excite you because some of the stuff you have to debunk is crazy. But it's like, who are the people? Like, what is a guy's like this motivation? Is it money? Is he an agent of another state? Like, what do you know about Mark Slapinski?
I don't really know much about him.
And what's the motivation, right? Like
the motivation of a lot of these people is money.
Yeah, it's got to be money, right?
They discover they are good at it, and that it's easy to fool people on the internet. And so, if you can make some money doing that, I mean,
why not? Yeah.
That was the whole wave of fake news websites in 2016. Was Macedonian teenagers in their bedrooms setting up a crappy WordPress site and slapping on some ads and making hundreds or thousands of dollars, fooling naive Americans with stories about Hillary Clinton getting arrested. Like this guy in Africa that we found, that was his motivation probably too. There are entire gangs in the Philippines or in Vietnam doing nothing but hijacking Facebook accounts to post false crap so they can reap advertising money from, old people who get mad about stolen video clips from anti-vaxxer shows that they endlessly recycle. So it's money with a lot of guys. One of the more interesting sites is in the US that we've come across in the past few years is the network of Christopher Blair. He's actually a liberal writing satire to piss off conservative Republicans. Like he writes stories about liberals getting arrested or conservative movie stars dying and leaving their fortune to Trump's re-election campaign, that sort of stuff. But it's literally littered with satire, disclaimers, and hints that it's fake. Dead hoaxes for your thoughts and prayers is literally the subheader of one of his sites. And these articles get stolen and copied by Pakistani spammers who then repost it as real news. And then they post it to Judge Janine Pirro fan club Facebook groups, and
Wow.
it goes viral from there. Like,
wow.
Judge G's Facebook group. But it's like there are tips and tricks, right? Like, you know, I know how this business works according to organic traffic and how to get people to look at stuff and where to place it. And we've got a little analytics company that takes care of that for us. And so I'm always interested in, like, you know, the different ways you can get your stuff in front of people at a much cheaper price. The emotional stuff, like the stuff that Slipinski put up about the Canadian beaver. By the way, the Canadian beaver, this is the front page of the website. This is literally hours after Martin had offed this guy. It was like literally hours after Martin's like, hey, Mark Slapinski's the Canadian beaver. He shuttered the website. Like, it's now
oh no,
no
I
longer
have to fact check you on that again.
Sorry, please, yes.
That message, this website is now defunct. That came on after Pfizer filed a lawsuit in New York, or filed a petition. And when I noticed that, because I knew I had the information tying it to Mark Slapinski 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I was traveling, so I was at a conference in Sarajevo in Bosnia, and then I was in the United States for a week to talk with my colleagues. So I simply didn't have the time to write it all up yet. But yeah, when Pfizer filed that petition, like, we're looking for the identity of whoever is behind that site, I was like, hey, I might have some information that you might find interesting.
Did you send it to Pfizer?
Only after I posted that the website went completely down. It's now inaccessible.
Does this put you in favor with anybody from Pfizer? Like, I mean, maybe you get a nice Christmas card and a bottle of stock
I hope,
or something?
Pfizer, if you're listening, if you can put me at the front of the line for the booster shot, hit me up.
Can you, Martin? Can you
Free
run
boner
through?
pills, Martin?
Can you run through what a person would have to do in order to manufacture and fake all this and set him up? Like, what would a person have to do in order to accomplish that feat?
Yeah, like that's a great question. Like, because he's going to do that. Like, he's going to come out and go, "I've been set up," right? Like, how do you know he wasn't?
So somebody would need to research him pretty deeply and look at his old sites and fish out the advertising ID, and then set up a new website using that advertising ID. They would also need to set up a WordPress installation using his email address to run the main account.
So it's not possible.
And then they would need to shut down any actual ads appearing on the website and actual system emails being sent out to that email address, because there's going to be emails that the system generates, or if you receive a comment or stuff like that. Those would have ended up in his inbox. Like, for months.
Is it possible
at a
to
time,
change that email address temporarily so that all those emails get shot to a different email address and then you change it back?
Yeah, and you change it back just in time for the Belgian fact checker to stumble over it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you also need to modify the Internet Archive so that it's changed every time that the Internet Archive makes a snapshot of your website.
Tom Cruise did
Like,
it.
So it is.
wow, those Russian hackers are pretty good.
So there is no way this isn't Mark Slapinski, is what we're saying, right? Which is fucking fascinating. Lead Stories is the name of the website. Sorry. Go ahead, Martin.
It's also his modus operandi. Like, his previous website, Toronto Today, was also a Canada-based or Canada-themed website with some legit news stories mixed in with fake stories posted on the back pages. So it uses the completely the same setup, although that's not a definitive proof because other sites use that tactic as well. But the fact that it's Canada related and that he now has Toronto 99 and Conservative Beaver as two separate entities, that's somebody who either knows him very, very, very well, or it's him.
You know what?
So it's him.
I find wildly interesting about this is that, I mean, you'd have to be a pretty smart guy to set this up and get away with it for as long as he has, right, Martin? Like, he's no dummy.
No, he's not dumb, but these guys always make mistakes.
Yeah, but you're obviously just you did your work. You did your due diligence. You're smarter than him. You tracked this guy down, but it's taken you a long time to track him down, right?
Yeah, it's
so he was he was flying under the radar for a lot of years. And again, like I said, not a dumb guy, but everything he's doing now seems to be pointing to stuff that a very guilty person would do to like, it doesn't make any sense.
What do you mean, like blocking me after asking him to come on the show?
But looking at his work in hindsight, he would have made a pretty good reporter for a mainstream outlet.
Mm-hmm. I think he can forget a career in journalism now.
Yeah, not the state of the current media. He's dishonest.
You can say,
well,
I think you could forget that.
I mean,
whole
Newsmax or OAN might hire him, but
fucking wild. It's wild.
It's insane.
If you're really being accused by some evil, like, suppose I'm an evil Soros-funded communist fact checker that's out.
You kind of look like that. You look,
like,
you know?
that's how that looks. And so I fake up all this evidence. I set up this completely fake website, and then
hold on. Before you continue, Martin, can we have some music? Can we have some evil
Evil
villain music.
Yeah, let me give you some
music,
background music because we'll let you get on with your day, but please finish what you're saying. I'll give you some lounge music for it. Go ahead, Martin.
Yeah, so fake up all this evidence, write an article, and then get it to you, Dean.
Yeah.
So that you would ask, hey, what's up? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Your first response wouldn't be to block you on Twitter and to accuse you of being homophobic. Like, your reaction would be, what the fuck are you talking about? This is completely false. I can prove it. Here's some evidence that I was hacked or whatever. But yeah, you wouldn't block everybody who dares to bring it up.
Yeah.
Like, and he knows,
everybody who's asking you about it, like, and I said that to him. I'm like, dude, just come on the show and then fucking represent yourself, because if you're not lying, it should be super easy. He's like,
yeah,
fuck you.
I would be very interested to talk to him. Like, what makes a guy like that tick?
Me too. Yeah. I'll tell you what makes him tick, because I've seen the vacant looks in his eyes when you have him on, and it's funny because every time we've had him on, when he leaves, one of these two guys is like, I don't know about him.
Yeah, we both, James and I have both said it.
What's going on with that Slipinski guy? I don't know.
Like, I've talked to several people that run fake news sites in the past. Like,
are they all devoid of personality like he is?
I was saying,
one of the worst fake news sites that we used to know was run by a like posting this horrible anti-Semitic, anti-gay, anti-whatever crap, was run by a gay British Muslim who was gay married to someone. So,
wow.
Like, he knew it was bullshit, but he was just doing it for the money.
For the money.
That's like James going, I'm going to start a news outlet that is totally vanilla, for one thing. Very happy news, you know, like
yeah. And it talks about evolving as a human being. James is starting that site.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just.
Yeah. That came from Orville Redenbacher as Benjamin Button over there.
Listen, Martin, will you come back and join us again? Because I'm sure we're not done with this subject, and I don't know if you're going to continue following him down the rabbit hole now that you put out the article at leadstories.com. But I would appreciate it if you did, because I'm sure he's not done with us, because he's still on the I didn't know Dean was a bad person. He's a fucking nightmare, because he's a fucking liar. So if you would come back, we'd appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
One more thing before you go,
that.
Martin. Are you able to find out if he is working alone or if he's part of a tentacle of some other bigger thing?
Well, I haven't seen anything that points to other people being involved, but I could be wrong. I mean, I've seen one email address and one user account.
For all of it. Yeah.
So,
and it's his, right?
So
his
screwed.
MD5 hash.
Yeah.
Do you think is this jail time worthy, or is it just a fine? It's not jail time worthy, is it?
I mean, slander and defamation, it's probably just a fine. I don't know, but I mean, I don't know how it is in Canada, but in the US, fake news is free speech, so you're allowed to say anything as long as you don't do imminent harm and that sort of stuff.
Well, I don't know if anyone wants to I don't know if what he did was jail worthy or whatever. Like, writing fake news is something that many people have been doing for years, and not.
They're going to sue his little dick off. No,
but the Pfizer thing.
Pfizer.
Yeah, I think Pfizer probably has a reason to sue for damages. But like, he also wrote that the CEO of Netflix was arrested with child porn and that sort of stuff. So and they probably.
What's the point of that? Like, I don't.
Do you remember how vacant his look was when we were saying to him, "Do you got a gun at home?" So the right wingers don't come over and do you in, and he's just like, "I don't know if that computes." Like, he's just vacant. You know?
Yeah, he was fucked. I knew he was fucked when we had him on too, but I like fucked people. Like, it's fucked people.
Yeah, you do like a little
ratings.
bit. We like interesting people, right? This is weird. This is.
Martin, I'll let you go. Thank you. I want to thank you for the work that you and Lead Stories does. I'm going to send you a little email because we're going to do a little work together, but love to have you back, and I'd love to have you talk about this. And feel free to answer that. It's okay.
And fact check J.K. Rowling's transphobia before you come back too.
And fact check our site too. I think we're going to come out on top.
Okay, will do. Nice talking to you guys.
I got an idea for a fake account for you for Twitter. Need to buy a vowel?
Thanks, Martin. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye. That's Martin Schenk from, he's the founder of a company that does more fact-checking than any other company on the fucking planet.
That was
Work
awesome.
for Facebook. And the dude's like, hey, Mark Slapinski is the owner of Canadian Beaver, and he's putting out a whole bunch of shit about the Pope being dead and Pfizer. So, quick attention.
And I've worked
FB.
on Canadian Beaver.
Oh.
Not the website.
It's weird. Quick attention grabber before we get to Jon Kay. I want to tell everybody, the FBI, if you're listening, the guy you're looking for is Mark Slapinski.
They're going to, listen.
Search his anus.
That guy
You're gonna
from
look in his
Pfizer
anus.
is angry.
Yeah.
He should be.
He is pissed off because that story was massive, right?
And rich people like that, they have
major
helicopters.
egos, and they're not
Mercenaries,
going to let
you
up.
know?
Like he
No.
will throw everything at him.
Dude's like,
I
said
don't know
the,
if
the
Mark-
owner of Pfizer's wife is dead, and the owner of Pfizer's like, take all the money and go find this guy.
and
We found
fuck him up.
Martin found him, and he works.
That's
for us.
it's insane.
I was
So
joking
anyway.
with the Bonzi comment before, but like if if Bonzi was a bad guy and then inserted himself into the Matrix, he still might write that story.
Yeah,
you
I
know
know.
what I mean? Like
I know.
that's bad. A guy's
Anyway.
wife is dead.
From fact checking to nothing but facts, please welcome to the program, editor of Quillette, Jon Kay, ladies and gentlemen. Jon Kay, you get a round of applause. Were you having a sandwich? Did we interrupt? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your sandwich.
I was eating. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you great. Yeah.
I was enjoying. I had no idea what the hell you're talking about, but I enjoyed listening to that conversation.
Do you know anything about the conservative beaver, John?
I have zero interest, but the thing that interested me was the guy you just had on sounds super well informed and like super he's obviously a good guy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But he had like that evil guy Slavic accent.
Yeah.
So I'm listening, and it's like when Ricky Gervais pretended to be evil on that Muppets Great Adventure movie, and like he spoke in that Slavic accent. But then everything he was saying was good guy stuff. So it caused a lot of like cognitive dissonance on my part.
The anti-hero.
Yeah.
Have you ever
Cognitive dissonance on my part.
I just feel
funny people, John.
good people should have good guy accents, and so that's what I find problematic.
His accent is technically neutral, if I'm not mistaken.
No, come on. Let's be honest. It's
John,
like this.
I'm with you. I know exactly what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
If you guys ever get a chance to watch Funny People with Adam Sandler and Seth Rogen, there's a whole bit about the doctor that is from Germany and has that accent.
It's not their fault.
No.
They were born that way.
They sound like that. That's where they were born.
It's not their fault. Yeah.
Totally get it. Yeah. How are you, brother?
I'm pretty good. Yeah. I can't complain.
Well, you look good. You missed a beauty because we just found out. Yeah, listen, you run Quillette here in Canada. You're a journalist. You're an academic. I am just coming into the knowledge that there are people out there that are passing around misinformation for money.
Well, it's shocking, I know.
But even more shocking is that who we were talking about there, the guy works for us. Worked.
Sorry. What?
Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting.
Right?
So what?
He was a contributor.
Okay.
He was a contributor. So it's this guy here. His name's Mark Slapinski. He blocked me after I asked him to come on the show and explain why the world's biggest fact-checking site sent me a note saying, hey, your boy Mark Slapinski operates a misinformation site that talks about the Pope being a pedophile, and then he got arrested, and Pfizer wants a piece of him. And I'm like, oh, this is big news. So I talked to the guy that was Martin, who you heard with the evil accent, and talked to him this morning, and he's a great guy. He's telling me all this stuff, showing me his computer screen, and I'm like, holy fuck, one of our bloggers doesn't work for us. One of our bloggers that contributes from time to time is like one of the biggest, Martin said to me on the phone, the biggest pusher of dangerous disinformation in the country.
But
in Canada.
How are you going to reform your human resources intake operations to avoid this kind of situation?
We got a guy, Bonzi, handling all complaints and human resources.
Because I feel like you're going to need to take this up with the HR committee. With, I guess it's like in the room behind you.
Yeah, it's in the bathroom.
Okay.
Add this one to the Bonzi file.
Yeah. We'll get Bonzi to deal with it. It's just a series of fuck yous and a hang up. But like when you're bringing people onto Quillette, you're working with content providers, and clearly I need to do more due diligence.
Well, so
how do you do it? Like,
so this is an extreme example because I overheard some of the conversation about like the Pfizer and the personal stuff about the guy's wife and stuff. I mean, that's crazy stuff. But I think everyone in media by now has the experience of somebody who has been one of their contributors has kind of like gone off in some weird direction, and they might have contributed to your site, and now they're talking about, it could be vaccines, it could be race stuff, left and right. Like this happens on both sides. And I don't know anybody who has been an editor in the Canadian media, or who has worked with a lot of people, who doesn't have at least a few people in their past, and their bylines might be on their website, who as of now is now just saying crazy things. And I think the best way, I mean, you guys, you're your own brand, so I think you're kind of having fun with it in a way. But I think in most cases, the way you deal with it is you don't do anything. Like, because I don't like this thing where you'll see a media outlet come and say, it has come to our attention that Joe Smith, who used to work for us 5 years ago, did this. We denounce this in no uncertain terms, and it kind of becomes like the shaming ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Quillette was one of those, like, and it was not just obviously, but like there's a section of the left that always trotted out Quillette as an example of a publication that publishes things that are controversial in regards to race, for example. And that you guys, I knew it was false.
We ourselves, like Quillette has now been around for like 6 years, so we are now sometimes on the other side of that conversation, where, it's absolutely true that if you're extremely doctrinaire on one side of the spectrum, and by the conservatives are now attacking Quillette because they think that we are insufficiently skeptical of vaccines. So we actually, most of the attacks against Quillette now that you see on social media are not from progressives; they are from followers of guys like Brett Weinstein, who think that we are like part of the conspiracy to hide the truth about the dangers associated with COVID vaccines. And this is something that happened like in the last 6 or 12 months. Mm-hmm. And it shows how quickly politics change. But we also, as I say, are on the other side of the conversation, because Quillette has been around, I think, for like 6 or 7 years now. We have an inventory of hundreds of people who have contributed to the site, and just statistically, a few of them are going to go. I mean, it happens in every outlet. They go in weird directions.
But did you have people doing it at the same time? That's a question I would have, because that's what was going on here.
That's
unbeknownst to us.
Weird. But that's a special case, because it sounds like this click farm the guy was running is kind of like a back office thing. It wasn't like he was working at like putting his bylines on crazy stuff in a sort of arm's length way that you could just Google his name and see. Like, he was running a kind of back office operation, right?
Yeah, he was using other outlets like the Dean Blundell Podcast Network and DeanBlundell.com to promote the brand that I think he wants to present to
the
people.
Legitimate stuff. Like he used us and other people. And I was happy to have his content. I got to tell you the truth. Like, this is a weird game right now, and you can speak to this a little bit too, John, when you're building an ecosystem and you're looking for content, because you can never have enough, and you see other people that are doing your stuff, they get in touch with you, you get in touch with them, you're like, hey, I'll give you some content, you give me some content. But then sometimes you'll go, okay, I really like what this guy's doing. And I really did. Like, Mark did a couple of great pieces for us on the Premier, or the Prime Minister getting pelted with rocks, which I thought was funny. Some stuff about the Hilliers, like he took those people to task. But as he's doing that, John, he's pumping out fucking misinformation articles on the Pope being a pedophile and getting arrested, and how the Pfizer CEO's wife was killed by the vaccine, which is a total lie.
The first example is really easy to believe. That's why.
I was just about to say the first example is like, I was looking at the corner of the screen where James was there, like, he's the blue pill, and The Pfizer thing is a little weirder, and especially since I think Pfizer is more litigious than the Pope. So that is weird, and the fact he's doing it at the same time, and the fact he's doing it in a way that you can't really verify, like everyone,
he's attempting to hide it,
is a hypocrite, because like, you know, Quillette is very much into sort of free thought and free speech and stuff like that. But ultimately, if you have a brand, you're always going to do due diligence on a person sending you an article. If a new guy sends me an article and I've never heard of him, he has no institutional affiliation, chances are I will Google him. And if the Google results, you know, it's like stuff about family members of the president of Pfizer dying and crazy stuff like that, no, I'm not going to run his piece. If that counts as cancel culture, then I guess, yeah, I'm into cancel culture. But yeah, this is a weird thing, just because he was doing it at the same time, and the back office click farm aspect of it. And then he blocked you, which is just awkward when you see him at your Christmas party later this year. Like is he still invited?
Christmas party.
He's going to do a Costanza. He's just going to show up. What, that thing? No.
It's going to be weird, because you're going to be like at the all-you-can-eat latke station, and he's going to come up. It's like, hey, what's up, man? I'm like, crazy stuff. I'm sorry I blocked you, but wow.
So I have something to add about John's comment about you never know what somebody that might be working for you, a contributor might be working for you, might end up becoming down the road, right? I was watching a video on the Edmonton Freedom Central Facebook page, and there was a moment where there was a contributor, and she was walking through the crowd and doing a report, and I don't know this. I've never met this woman, but I'm pretty sure I saw her on a legitimate news source not long ago.
Right.
And I was like, I wonder if this is her new attempt at a career.
See, freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom is the key word there, because freedom is a weird word. I love freedom. Freedom is amazing. But when the word freedom appears in like a media outlet's name or website, it's like I take a second look, because there is a high correlation between the appearance of the word freedom and like the appearance of batshit in the stuff that comes out of it. Like, have you noticed that? Which is,
you're so right. They've weaponized the word freedom.
Yeah, I feel dirty saying it.
These communist countries that call themselves like the Socialist Democratic Republic of Awesomeness, and it's just like some communist shithole. And so you're just like inherently skeptical of those nice words in it. And they've, you know what? They've ruined freedom.
Before it was you'd go to college, and or maybe senior year of high school, something, you'd read Ayn Rand, and then you'd have like a period of time where you were all into that, and then you realized it was kind of batshit. And it feels like the general public who didn't get the Ayn Rand experience in college are getting it now, and they're just holding on to
100%. But 100%. So I'm glad you said that, because I tweeted this out before, because I interviewed a few anti-vaxxers. And what I found was that a lot, because people assume that like they're these sort of unemployed losers, whatever, and it was the opposite. A lot of these guys ran their own businesses. They were successful guys, a lot of them young guys. And it was interesting, because it was clear that COVID-19 was the first time in their whole life anybody had put any restrictions on their behavior. That they, they grew up in decent households, they set their own working hours. If their girlfriend didn't let them play Xbox all night, there was like, well, forget her. They didn't have any strictures in their life. They were, I don't want to say overgrown children, because, they were productive members of society. They made good money, but they operated in the world with no boundaries. And for the first time in their life, at the age of 25, someone says, hey, you got to put this mask on before you go into the restaurant. They're like, oh, really? Hitler? And like, it was the first thing, because they had no experience, no baseline with any restrictions on their life. And so you talk about the Ayn Rand thing. If you are old enough to remember communism, and you have some historical memory of regimes that like really are dictatorial, it gives you, I think, some perspective on like what is and is not a real severe affront to freedom, especially during the time of pandemic. But if you're young, you've never lived, you've never had the Ayn Rand experience of like clash of civilizations and democracy versus communism. And like when the stakes are really high, the idea of someone telling you to wear a mask suddenly adopts, it's like this apocalyptic thing, because it's the first time you've ever experienced in your life.
Perspective is an excellent way of putting it. I've brought up, right, the Chris Sky wasn't allowed to buy knee-high socks at West Edmonton Mall. And then 4 security guards jumped him and beat the shit out of him. And then there's a woman trying to get justice for a sexual assault from a public official in China, and no one's actually seen her in public since. And if you Google her in the Chinese Google, they've scrubbed her from the internet.
Right. That's real dictatorship.
Yes. Yeah. So
tennis player. You're talking about the tennis player.
Tennis player. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Peng Shui.
Yeah.
Great.
Shui.
Well, way to go. Now we've just been censored in China. Nice work.
Sorry,
It's true.
John.
It's
Sorry,
true.
I'm cutting off an audience, potential audience.
Our friends used to do that in 2002 when we thought we learned, who knows if we did, that the CIA or NSA would start listening to your phone call if you said jihad, and so we'd open our calls like that. Hey, jihad, how you doing, Mark?
I remember that.
Jesus.
Sorry, John. I want to ask you a question about something that you've been on Twitter about this week. And keep in mind, I greatly value your opinion. And it's funny that there aren't more people. Like, you're one of the only guys that literally says, like, yeah, this is funny that we're having this race conversation. This is humorous. Are we going to be doing? You mock a lot of this stuff, and I want to bring this one up because I found this interesting. Something happened this week where a lady who was enslaved by ISIS wrote a book. And after she came back, and the Toronto District School Board superintendent vetoed the idea that kids would be able to read the Yazidi activist and Nobel Peace Prize laureate Nadia Murad's book because it would foster Islamophobia. So can you tell me about this young lady? Tell me what it is about this book, and tell me why you've been writing this. I know why you've been writing it, and I appreciate it. I just want to bring attention to it.
It's one of these stories that it's not like there's all these nuances to it. I mean, that's sort of it. There was a student-run book club, and this was actually one of 2 books that the Globe and Mail. This is a Globe and Mail story. I give them credit. Good for them for breaking the story. The other story was, I think, Marie Hanine, the lawyer who represented Jian Ghomeshi, one of the top lawyers in Canada, brilliant litigator. She was also, as I understand, excluded from consideration, along with, and this is the one that made international news because it's so ridiculous, is this Nobel Prize laureate who endured the most grotesque and barbarous forms of sexual torture from ISIS, won the Nobel Prize, wrote a book about it, and then you have the superintendent of education at TDSB, I think the woman's name is Helen Fisher, to my understanding, was never enslaved as a sex slave by ISIS, but I'll let her speak to that. And she decided that that exposing kids to this book might promote Islamophobia, which is kind of like saying, I'm not going to let you watch a documentary about World War II because it might make you not like Nazis. Like, ISIS is a terrorist group, and ISIS is listed as a terrorist group by our government. It's not like the book is called, Why I Hate Muslims by Joe Slipinski or whatever that guy was. Mark.
Old Slappy.
It was like a specific indictment of a group that had defamed Islam by perpetrating all kinds of murders and mass rape in the name of the religion. This woman wrote a book about it, and now a book club in Toronto can't use it because this administrator of the TDSB, Toronto District School Board, decided that it might promote Islamophobia. It's grotesque.
Is that because, and you were saying before about the keyword, about, you hear the word freedom and you kind of just gravitate towards that. Fair or not. That's like, what you do. And I'm the same way. Is it because she's Yazidi and that being that is like this wedge issue now because of, the conservatives wanted people to, wanted to set up rescue programs or whatever for Yazidis, and they specified them because they're Christian instead of Muslims. And do you think that that's just sort of is that what we're really seeing? Because if she was Muslim, I don't know how they could make that. I don't know if they could make an argument about Islamophobia.
I'm not even sure the level of analysis goes that far. And to be fair to the TDSB, they have tweeted this update, which I replied to a few minutes ago. And this is tweeted from the Toronto District School Board at TDSB account, right? It's not like one of these Macedonian sites we've been hearing so much about. So it's earlier this month, an opinion that did not reflect the position of the TDSB was shared with the book club organizer. Staff are currently reading the book, ellipsis, and hope to approve it shortly. So the update is that staff are currently reading the book. Now, no promises on what they think of it, but sometime, coming days, coming weeks, they'll finish that process, and then the Nobel laureate will be appraised of whether her book makes the snuff for Helen Fisher of the Toronto District School Board.
That's so funny.
Yeah, no, it's insane. But the level of pomposity here, like, who the fuck do they think they are? Yeah. And like, why are they approving books for book clubs anyways? Like, how is the superintendent of education, the biggest city in Canada, sitting around saying, well, that book looks Islamophobic. I'm not going to actually read it, but, I don't like the cover, denied. Like, it's like out of some conservative stereotype of what bureaucrats do with their days. Yeah. And this story, and again, this story, this is not a Mark Slapinski story. This is a Globe and Mail story.
Mm-hmm. But other than the Globe and Mail, it's being reported on by people who, if they're going to talk about it, then
Well, Daily Telegraph. Well, I mean, it was in the British press yesterday, and I'm glad to see in the British. Yeah, the Daily Telegraph reported. And by the way, I'm glad to see international media report on this stuff, because I think there are a lot of fairly well insulated actors in official circles in Canada who kind of assume that they can do whatever they want because they have the Canadian media. I mean, aside from these, this rogue Globe and Mail reporter who actually did some investigative reporting, broadly speaking, they can count on most of the major outlets to have their back when they lecture us about Islamophobia and stuff like that. And it's when the international media they get involved, because Canadians are very sensitive about how they're presented by others.
Yeah.
So can
we
I ask you
crawling
just a quick question?
Out of the overly politically correct world a little bit, and using a little more common sense, John, to make decisions, or are you seeing us still sort of buried by that, the weight of that in how we did make decisions?
I mean, in general.
Yeah, in general.
It's interesting because often, so a lot of the stories I've reported on lately, the story is shocking because you're reporting on a subculture that's really insulated from any kind of transparency, that's operating within its own silo, and then suddenly you expose its inner workings, and people are absolutely shocked. And the story that I tweeted about, it's actually the pinned tweet on my Twitter now. This is about like a week ago I tweeted this. It was absolutely shocking. But you had District 20 of the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Union. They passed a resolution giving voting power to their members at their bargaining unit according to the color of their skin. And it literally, like, this isn't something I made up. And this resolution was passed a while ago. The rank and file were notified of this race-based voting policy on Monday. So this is, I guess, 11 days ago. Apparently the meeting was incredibly contentious. People accused the union of reverse racism. The president of the union, a woman named Cindy Gage, then sent out an email saying that reverse racism is now a forbidden phrase because it causes harm to people. And so, and what's worse, this to my mind, if you're a supporter of unions, this is the worst part, is that people at that union meeting, it took place at a school, people at that union meeting who wanted to smear the dissidents as racist went to the school principal and said, there were opinions expressed at this union meeting that violate your safe space anti-racism rules. And so you had union members snitching on each other. God. This is
so Lachlan,
Ontario secondary school teachers, District 20, champions of the labor movement, snitching on each other in order to weaponize bogus claims of racism, to attack one another, to protect a policy that is literally racist, that awards voting power on the basis of race. And when I pointed this out, the first thing, the union
called you racist.
They didn't. They made their tweets protected. The president of the union made her tweets protected. This happened 9 days ago. This has gone on, like this thread I wrote, it's got like 3,000 likes or whatever. There's people from other countries who can't believe it. And National Post did a good story on it. You had a lot of regional Ontario newspapers that have done a good story on it. But this going to the question of like, how can this culture be changed? Had somebody not leaked these documents to me or anybody else, I don't think there would have been any pushback against this, because within that culture, Cindy Gage and the minority of people who support this crazy policy are simply able to smear all of their opponents as racist. They're able to weaponize school policies. They're able to weaponize their existing union policies. They're able to weaponize their monopoly on email communications, because they sent out an email blast to the whole union about how racist these people are for using the term reverse racism. It just takes a small group of people to control those spigots of information, and cynically weaponize the accusation of racism and analogous claim, transphobia and sexism, and go down the list. And unless somebody from the outside gets the documents, gets a recording, because I got the emails, I got the documents. They made a video, which I actually put. They made a 5-minute cartoon video explaining why voting by race is necessary to ensure equity. And it's like these cartoon characters going around explaining this. I'm like, they spent tens of thousands of dollars on this in order to propagandize to their own members. I also got emails showing that general counsel for the union itself, lawyers knew that this was going to be illegal, and they predicted that this was not going to pass muster with Ontario human rights law. They went through it anyway and produced a propaganda video arguing against the legal advice they received in order to propagandize their own members, and then to smear their own membership as racist for opposing it, for arguing what their own lawyers had already argued. And unless somebody from the outside, it doesn't have to be a journalist, it could just be a guy with a Twitter account or some loser like me comes and says, wow, look, this is crazy. And members of the general public are like, yeah, that is super crazy. That's when things start to change.
Well, what happens though? Like I know that if you want to take a counselor or something like that to task, and you're a member of the public, you'd have to go through like a process that starts with the integrity commissioner. Is there a way to start a process like that with a chairperson of the Toronto District School Board?
Well, look, unions have their own recall procedures and like their own sort of Byzantine proceduralism. School board officials, from what I understand, like the public contact with school board, my public contact with my local school board official literally consists of every few years, they stand outside my kid's school and give out leaflets. They seem like very nice people. And they're like, here's where, that's the only time I have any interaction with these people. And those people themselves are not, the trustees aren't necessarily the people doing this crazy stuff. It's the day-to-day administrative professionals like Helen Fisher, who's a superintendent. So the public, you're like 3 steps removed, because it's the public who votes for the trustees who have some oversight over the administrative personnel, and then the day-to-day administrative personnel, 99% of the time, their actions are shielded. And it's only because of Globe and Mail reporting that we even knew about this case involving Marie Henein and this Nobel laureate. I mean, who knows what else is going on? Like this is one of the rare examples where it actually gets reported.
What's the Marie one? Because I consider her a feminist icon personally. Yeah. Because sure. That's just, I think she's one of the most accomplished lawyers in the country, and she gets railroaded because of the clients that she's had in the past, who she successfully defended, by the way, because she's a fucking good lawyer. Yeah. What was her situation? I didn't. Was it just an event that she was supposed to do that she was?
Well, I mean, the interesting thing here, if I'm just going to pull up the Globe and Mail article. So this is a Globe and Mail Henein.
Hey, while you're doing that, let me just bring up that tweet you referenced, and go to Jon Kay, at Jon Kay on Twitter, where you can check out everything he's talking about, including the racist voting policies that they're trying to put in place. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'm always happy to get new followers. It's literally the only reason I come on the show. Yeah. But if you look, so in answer to James's question, the interesting thing is that the Globe and Mail article, this is November 12th, it was reported by Carolyn Alfonso. the title, at least in the web version, is Toronto School Board Rejects Marie Hanine Book Club Event. Like Marie Hanine, there's a picture of Marie. She was the headliner in this. And I remember reading it. I remember I tweeted this out at the time. I was reading it. This was like, oh, this is crazy. And I'm reading it and I'm reading it and I'm reading it. And then later in the article, I'm like, oh yeah, they also canceled this woman who, won a Nobel Prize and got kidnapped by ISIS, yada, yada. I was like, oh, what? Let's go back to this thing. Like, but the Globe and Mail editor, and you know what, to be fair to the Globe and Mail editors, I don't know which of these two is more ridiculous, because Marie Hanine, if you've seen her being interviewed, like there was this famous interview on CBC where she absolutely,
she nailed it.
It was the
Peter Mansbridge.
Mansbridge was interviewing her, and I have no problem with Mansbridge, but it was a sloppy, lazy interview. It was like, what do you say to these people? And what do you say to these? Like, he couldn't even make the argument in his own words. It was just like sort of reading tweets, like the laziest kind of tearjerker journalism. And she just handed his fucking hat to him and made him look like an absolute amateur. And I remember thinking,
I'm sorry, Jonathan. She's so hot too.
It's her intelligence.
It doesn't hurt. That's what I'm saying. She's super intelligent, and it makes her hotter. And all
this is about competence and respect and professionalism.
Yeah.
I respect her hotness.
Yes.
So the thing about what she does.
Yeah, I was going to say, just for a second, it's great having Jon Kay on from Colette. And as soon as we start talking about Marie Hanine, James is like, may I mention she's also attractive?
You know what?
Like,
look,
yes, she is.
You know what? All of us, putting aside these base qualities we all admire confidence and
confidence. Yeah.
Like when a person enters a room and is able to make to advance an argument, even on behalf of a scummy guy, like it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. It's hot. It's hot. It attracts.
Might be the hottest thing.
You would have been really attracted to me about a half hour ago when we were talking to Martin, by the way.
When I was Martin, that because evil is hot, right? That accent. So this is like so off field. But
surprised he's not dating Marie. I mean,
when Marie Hanine was being interviewed by Mansbridge, I became less attracted to Mansbridge because he was being so dominated by Hanine. And I remember thinking, this is like a role model. This is like the super confident, well-spoken, legal professional, and forget inspiration to female lawyers, an inspiration to lawyers, full stop. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's a testament to her skill that she's able to get off a person of ill repute like Gomesh. I mean, anybody could get off a guy who is sort of like, a student council president type and everyone likes him and, he had an off day. But Gomesh was the sleazebag. She's such a good lawyer, she got this guy off. Like, every lawyer should aspire to be that good. And by the way, our constitutional scheme, due process, requires that no matter how big a scumbag you are, you get a lawyer. And if you can afford it, you get a great lawyer. And if you have tons of money, you get this woman. And then along comes the TDSB, Helen Fisher, and says, no, not on my watch, lady. Haven't you heard of Me Too?
Why is there such a preventative attitude towards education now? Like, who is Miss Fisher protecting by saying? The thing
about education is
she didn't read that book. She looked at the cover and went.
She's in the process of reading it, or is in communication with somebody who is in the process of reading it, and she will get back to us about how that process plays out. Yeah. The education my kids get at TDSB schools is good. They're great schools. If you look at the PISO scores, international standards, our schools are good. Our teachers are good. It's the people who supervise them and who spent a lot of times too much of their lives at OISE, Teachers College at University of Toronto, or just like doing a lot of seminar BS about equity and diversity, which are great in principle, but once they're ensconced in administrative processes, like just get sort of weaponized to all sorts of crap and where things. This is what I'm very careful to say. The schools themselves, my experience has been good, and the teachers have been good. And the teachers don't spend a lot of time like on ideological stuff. I mean, I'm not crazy about all the content, but the teachers themselves should be appalled at the way that the reputation of the school board is being impugned by the people who are making several times more money than they are. and are embarrassing the TDSB with their decision. This is an embarrassment to the TDSB, and I'm glad it's being reported internationally because otherwise nothing's going to change.
I'm glad you have the nuts to cover it. Locke, go ahead.
I feel like this is a good transition point here because I have a couple of questions that I think we may have touched on, and so you can tell me that we've already covered this and we can move on quickly. But do you have a I have two things, John. Do you have a policy on blocking on Twitter or social media?
In fact, I was bragging that maybe that's what you're asking me. I probably the only guy. Well, I'm not. I'm sure there are lots of people who don't have anyone blocked. But in terms of like the sort of person who maybe gets into some of the heated discussions I do on Twitter, I don't have literally a single human being blocked on Twitter. I don't want to say, oh, it's a cop out or it's coward. I mean, if somebody is being bugged by someone, they don't want to hear their voices. That's fine. Just block them. I'm not going to cast judgment on you. But I regard it kind of as a point of honor that I don't have to block people. I make them feel blocked. It becomes like an internal condition. The blocking is like in their heart. And so I don't actually have to press the block button. Because I also don't want these idiots who are like, they get blocked. And like to them, it might be the biggest part of their day to get blocked by somebody who has like more than 7 followers.
Yeah, it's the block army, right? That's what we call them. Is that you like, and I don't give 2 fucks either. I generally, if someone's an enormous asshole, I'll just mute them. But the only people I block now are Russian bots. Like if you've joined in November 2021, see you later. I won't respond to you. And if you're going to send me
Macedonians, we got to watch out for the Macedonians. I mean,
John, I wanted to ask you a really quick question because you mentioned before about
hang on, James, because Locke had 2 questions. It's okay. We'll get to yours.
Well, we talked about that
Locke.
one last show, but go ahead, Locke.
Second question.
I have one more quick question, and I think we've brought this up. Have you watched the Dave Chappelle Netflix special that he released recently?
Yeah, but I was probably the last person to watch it because I'm such a nerd that I actually read the transcript before I actually watched it.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
no, you didn't. Did you really?
I did. And I was laughing at the transcript because Dave Chappelle is so funny that even the transcript, I can't say the joke because it involves what. But the joke he told about Eminem getting the award at from BET for being that joke, even like in transcript form, knocked me out. He's a super funny guy.
Yeah, he's brilliant. I think we brought him up last time because we sort of touched on this cancel culture, and I was interested if you've jumped into those waters. So we actually may have brought up him before you watched it, and then maybe that's why you've jumped in recently because it is a rather controversial topic. But I'm curious with respect to how you dissect things, what you think about him as a voice and ironically a voice of reason today.
It's the glitch. Remember
comedy? Yeah, James has a glitch fee. I think he was talking about this on Twitter. But look, historically, comedy has been a game for outsiders. Often that's meant Jews, but often like lots of great LGBT comics. Immigrants are overrepresented, and the reason is because people sometimes you have to be outside a culture to see how ridiculous it is. If you're born and raised with a particular set of expectations, they seem normal to you, and you have to kind of be outside of it in order to critique it. And that's why Jews are sometimes the funniest critics of Gentile culture, and blacks are sometimes the funniest critics of white culture. Like this goes back. This goes back to the 70s. Eddie Murphy made white people laugh at themselves because he was pointing out stuff that white people just took for granted. And he, also happened to be an incredibly talented comedian. But Dave Chappelle, if you read the bit, like a lot of Chappelle's latest show is about the gender stuff. His status as a black man is not incidental to his critique of it because he's basically saying this is a bunch of crap that wealthy white trust fund kids who went to Haverford and Oberlin and Harvard care about. And like, he's sort of a guy who doesn't have that background, and maybe his blackness insulates himself from some of these rarefied, pretentious subcultures where it's like there's all this pious pronoun sharing and I'm non-binary, 60% this, 40% this, and my pronouns is I'll teach you how to pronounce them. Like this very rarefied stuff that really only appeals to people who don't have any other problems to worry about for the most part. His status as a black man is not incidental to his critique.
Oh, totally. If you looked at the transcripts of his jokes, but you whiteified his words, and you put a white comedian's name on it, they would go crazy.
And then if you looked at the protest outside Netflix, which is the funniest thing I've ever seen. I mean,
one of the greatest protests you've ever seen. Like the white dude that was standing there, the overweight white guy.
He's the hero. He's the only
okay.
His placard just said, "I like Dave," and he got physically beat up by a whole bunch of people, like physically abused.
Well, and he took it in good humor. And then when they took the sign off his placard and he was just holding a stick, they said he's holding a weapon. And then the whole thing was like they could just run it as a Republican campaign video and they'd sweep it 50 states. Like, it was so ridiculous. But I remember looking at it and saying, it was like this bunch of overprivileged white office workers. A year ago, these were the same people who were tweeting about how much we have to listen to black voices, right? Yeah. Listen to black voices. And then a black voice comes along and says, hey, black guy here.
Shut that guy
super
off.
Black. And here's what I think. And they're like, super black. Throw the heretic out. And not only throw the heretic out, throw out the acolytes of the heretic, such as that white guy with the sign that says, I like Dave. And it just shows how the stuff, one social panic washes over another social panic. And you have to remind them, like, hey, remember 12 months ago? Not so long ago, you were talking about how we to listen to the authentic voices of black people? Please meet my friend.
Oscar protest?
Oh my God, but it's and who knows, like a year from now, are we going to be back to blackness and away from the alphabet people, or is it going to be like some new thing? I don't know. I can't predict this.
Might be some exciting new thing, John.
I think we're going to have to cook it up. And I think Mark Slapinski is going to have to be involved. I'm
Slappy.
You know what? You guys were pretty hard on Slipinski. He might be the voice of a new generation.
Yeah.
And so I might have to reach out to that guy because I think yes,
get him writing.
I wanted to ask you quickly.
The great part about Slipinski is he's the voice of two generations at the same time. Like that's hard to do. Like to be the voice of the anti-vaxxer and also to be the voice of all the crazy lunatics that are telling you that the Pfizer guy's wife's dead. Like that's hard to do. And so congratulations, because that's duplicity to me. Like to me, that's just death. If you can't just be a consistent individual and share the same values and put everything on Front Street, I have zero time for you. And I think you say I was hard on him. I'm going to ruin his life. And I'm going to take great pleasure.
You know what? It's a beautiful holiday message from the people in your podcast.
Yeah. Going on the Christmas card.
I am so, I got to get off soon because I got to do a thing. But I am so juvenile that like 70% of the reason I keep bringing Mark up is I like saying Slipinski. Like that is how just completely immature I am.
And I like saying slappy every time you say
I know.
I know.
And I like saying it's a real slap in the Pinsky.
It's a passive aggressive fight about which of these two words we're going to use to describe
Slappy's better.
John, I'll let you go, brother. Thank you, Jon Kay, editor of Paulette, at Jon Kay on Twitter. Thank you very much. Really appreciate having you here. We'll talk to you soon.
It was fun.
Talk to you soon. There's Jon Kay, everybody.
I love him.
So do I.
Yeah,
oh my God.
I wanted to ask him about the Bernier lawsuit that he lost against Kinsella because that lawsuit was literally about weaponizing racism. But for another day.
Yeah, you know what the funny part of that whole thing was?
To bring him back
was when the judge in that lawsuit was like, gonna look at that, gonna look at this. Yeah, you're racist. See ya.
Yeah, he didn't.
That's what happened.
Really?
That's what happened. Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah. Did you not read the thing?
I know the joke is like.
I
know the joke is he gets sued for being a racist, and then the person suing for being a racist ends up like walks around as a racist for the next 2 years. But I get the joke. But Warren Kinsella was caught on tape saying, "I've falsely branded people as racist before, and this time it's going to be true." So I was like, "Jesus Christ, this is almost."
Dude, he's in the business. He's in the. I want to interview the guy. We DM from time to time. He actually shares a lot of our stuff. Like he'll like retweet a bunch of our stuff from time to time.
Who's that?
And Kinsella. Yeah. I
listen,
don't know what he does for a living.
And it's nothing like it's nothing that I can't bury. Like honestly, I don't care. about shit like
Well,
that.
if I had him on for the first time, it would be with like on a Wednesday or Friday when you were busy.
You wouldn't have to do that. Is what I'm saying. I know it's funny, but like you wouldn't have to do that though. I wouldn't like sit there and wait for my moment to attack him. I wouldn't be like that at all. There's no lawsuits between us. There's no like personal vendettas. We didn't sleep with each other's anything. Like it's fine. We just share words that are pretty biting.
He shares, dude. He's one of those Twitter follows. I follow him. He's one of those Twitter. He has no problem telling people just to fuck right off in the middle of a tweet.
He's blocked millions of people. You should ask him how many people he's blocked. It's like half of Twitter.
Anyway, boys, thanks for doing this.
That was good.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like I said, a frickin' roller coaster. It's I never know. Dean called me. I'm like on my way home from work. He's, you're not gonna believe who I just got off this Dutch dude.
Well, dude, like I'm sitting in my chair yesterday doing a show with Karima and you. Karima, after the show, I get up to go and make dinner. We had brown sugar glazed carrots yesterday and some ribs, by the way. It was great. But I get up to do it, and I see this thing about Slipinski, and I'm like,
what do you do now?
Well, because it's like I've had a few run-ins with him where he's been a fucking tool a couple times. I'm like, how can you fucking put that up? Now I know how he can put it up. Like now I know how he can put up a video saying all anti-vaxxers should be put in concentration camps. I'm like, fuck, take it down. I know why he put it up now, because this isn't about purveying information for a guy like Slipinski. So you can't trust anything he says.
Lachlan, yes. I remember, I don't know if I told you this actually, but like I was going through some stuff and I entered the show with Slipinski on it, and I was like, listen, okay, I'm saying to myself, okay, James, don't fucking like say anything crass against the guest and this and that. And I remember after that show, I was like, how am I not going to say anything? Like there's something mannequin-ish about this person.
Dean's not wrong.
You know,
I don't know if you did it, but I did it every time he was on. I'd call Dean and go, what is that?
I think I texted him once,
like, because we had him on, and I understand we're not always going to have these wildly dynamic, over the top guests, right? And I realized that sometimes it's going to be a little bit of work to get them, but the Mark one really threw me, and he's not wrong, and I believe you did the same thing to Dean.
I don't know if I can't remember if I did it or not, but I think you and I talked about it. Yeah, maybe I did.
Possibly.
But I think you and I talked about it on a quick phone call where I was like, what's up with Slappy?
What was that guy? What was that?
Because I can't tell what the fuck that guy's all about.
And
I mean an actual puppet. I don't mean like someone's.
And it wasn't even about whether or not he would respond to jokes. He fucking killed the conversation a couple of times. Just like, yeah. And again, I'm okay if somebody doesn't find me funny. I'm completely, but you still need to be able to roll with things. And he didn't roll with stuff.
I don't know how old he is, but his shit-eating grin is like 17. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he's got that.
You know what it is? You know what it is? I've had a lot of time to think. I've been at this since like 7:00 yesterday night, talking with Martin, talking with the people at Facebook, talking with the guys at I haven't just talked to Martin. So just so everybody knows, Dean 2.0 does a ton of work so he makes sure he's right, because there's nothing more important than being right. And if I'm wrong, I want to know I'm right. Right.
I enjoy being both right and wrong. Right. I have a great deal of fun being wrong.
But you guys know me. You know that I have some values that I hold dearly. This is important to me. I don't want to get wrapped up in the bullshit. We take the protection of the information that we give out, whether it's entertaining or not, very seriously, right? We don't put out misinformation. We don't put out disinformation. The goal isn't to sow discord. And I always come back to the same thing, is that if you're not interested in the greater good, you can fuck off. Plain and simple. Now, when I approached Mark about this story that was written by these guys in Belgium, the biggest fact checkers in the world, and I said, can you tell me more about it? And he then gave me the Pfizer lawsuit in total, which I have, and told me that Pfizer International is looking for this guy that we work with. Imagine my shock, because we try to run like a pretty tight ship of people that tell the truth. Like Jamesy and I we all have a great relationship, and we trust each other. We trust the content. So this guy, in my mind, he's got access to the back end of our website. Like he had a user profile. So last night at about midnight, I fucking canned that. Didn't tell him. I just said, hey, take him off. Take all his shit off.
That was probably smart.
You shouldn't have made. Maybe don't take his shit off though, because you don't want to be.
Oh no,
seen
his
as a
shit's
person
still up
that's high.
there.
Okay.
So he just can't go on and post stuff.
No, he can't. He can't go on and post bullshit. And I will say this: when he posted stuff with us, it was always very legit because I take that very fucking seriously. What I didn't know is at the same time, he's rifling off stories about how the guy that owns Pfizer's wife died from the fucking vaccine and the Pope got arrested for diddling kids. Like, at the exact same time, this is all going on. And
I can't believe we legitimately brought the conservative beaver up more than a couple of times as a reference point for bits we did on this podcast.
To shit on disinformation.
I don't recall seconding that motion though, because the name of the site, I was like, I don't know.
Toronto 99.
Yeah, but also the extent that he would have to do all that with. I remember he was on once. Because you remember, I don't know if I said it during the show or after, but I'm like, guys, I don't know about this fucking 6th degree of Kevin Bacon shit he's doing with the rock tossing shit. I was like, what's going on with the flow charts and stuff? Like, someone's related to somebody who was there and sitting beside him and throwing something. What? Like, I couldn't figure it out. And that's when I was like, okay, I don't understand this guy. And I thought, I left that show thinking, I just don't get it. It must be something I just don't get. I know that the rock tossing thing happened, but it was who was responsible. Then he had this weird flow chart, and that person knows this person. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this
It's like he
Kevin
was given
Bacon's gonna get a knock on the door? What's going on? Like,
it's like he was given the information, or it's like he was asked to deliver that information. But I will say this. The story was true. He nailed it, and we had a ton of clicks from it. And I was like, oh, fuck, this Slipinski guy's pretty good. And I carry on camping, and then all of a sudden we start hearing from people that he's doing some shit he shouldn't. And then he gets in trouble with the I come to his aid when he pisses off this militant veteran named Jeremy McKenzie. We then engineer an entire show around it to protect Mark. Meanwhile, he's out there fucking hustling stories about the Pfizer vaccine not being real. Like, it's fucking bizarre.
He's the reason why that guy's so mad.
Yeah.
That Nazi looks pretty good now, you know?
Not bad.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens to him. I think that Pfizer lawsuit will destroy him.
I hope it does. I'm going to go. I'm going, as soon as I get off the show, I am going to make sure that the people that are looking know exactly where to find him.
Well, that's why I asked that guy that question of how, if you could fake it, how could you, so that you don't get nailed yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So please don't get nailed.
Listen, let me just say this. I'm going to need some music to end the show off.
Let's have some Don't Get Nailed music.
Don't Get Nailed music? You want Don't Get Nailed music? I got fucking Don't Get Nailed music. Watch this. This is good. You're going to love this.
Kenny G.
No, it's
Never
not.
get nailed with Kenny G.
Some lounge hip hop. Got some lounge hip hop right now. A little piano. I will say this, is that I take this seriously. I know we have fun, we joke around and stuff, but I take the giving of information to you and entertainment at the same time seriously. I think we have a responsibility. Mm-hmm. Mark Slapinski does not. Mark Slapinski's responsibility is to shove as much bullshit information out there through as many different areas as he can, and to go viral with misinformation so that he can make money off the backs of really sad, sick people.
You know what? A lot of times,
it's Mark Slapinski's problem.
It's not about the money with those guys. A lot of times, it's about the adrenaline spike to see 400,000 people reading something that you did, and you're all mischievous about it. You know.
But I can truthfully tell you this: you cannot believe a word that comes out of his mouth on Twitter, any of his bullshit. And I'm going to, Mark, if you're listening and if you're watching,
love you.
After you pulled this baloney today, Bologna, I am coming for you. And Grudge Dean is back. Grudge Dean isn't happy with you, Mark. And if you know anything about me, you know that your time in the barrel is here. Let's have some fun. Hey, Mark. Every time you tweet about me, I am going to make your day awful on purpose, with purpose. And by the end of this, you'll have nothing to do with digital media ever again. And if you want, you can come I'll make sure that everybody, I invited him several times. He just kept saying no.
But you'd say, there's still, the door is still a little bit open so that we can sewer him when he gets
door's
here.
Closed. No? Door's closed. Door's
fun
closed.
Show.
Door's closed. Dean 2.0 is in the room having a nap. Dean 1.0 is out, and I'm going to have some fun with this one because this is where I make my cheese. This is the stuff I love to do.
Everyone needs a hobby.
I get to let Dean 1.0 out for a run in the prison yard.
Well, just as long as we can all kick him while he's down, Diener.
You betcha. Yeah, you betcha. Anyway, thanks for doing this, guys.
It's so
Appreciate
much
it.
safer being a dumb guy.
You're not a dumb guy. I fucking hate you.
Smart, man. Yeah. Appreciate you. Lachlan Cross, 95.7 Cruise FM in Edmonton is where you can find him every single morning at Lachlan Cross on Twitter. Thanks, brother.
Good to see you, Lachlan.
Thank you, boys. Have a
Appreciate
good day.
you,
That was
Dean.
fun.
That was great. James DeFiore, Blackballed the podcast, and blackballmedia.ca. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, Dean.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. Thanks to Jon Kay from Quillette, at Jon Kay on Twitter. Thanks to Martin Schenk from leadstories.com. I don't fuck around. I don't. And when I can't take care of myself, I get other people to take care of for me legally. Because I'm not an idiot. I'm coming, Mark. And I like this. Lots of people don't. Lots of people are like, conflict? Oh, just let it go. That was what Mark said to me in a tweet. Just, can't you just let this die quietly? No, not at all. No. What I will do, though, is spend an inordinate amount of hobby time, downtime, like watching a game or something like that. Making sure everybody knows that you're full of shit. Because you are. Just remember that, Mark. Every tweet. And I'm a-coming. Fuck. You don't even need to not tweet. I'm still coming. I'm going to just ratchet it up a little bit. It's my jam. Thanks for watching. Hope everybody has a great day. Don't forget, you can get us at deanblundell.com. Sign up for a newsletter there. Thanks to our partners and sponsors, Easy Auto Financial, easyautofinancial.ca. Check them out. What they want to do is get you in a car, and they don't want to charge you for financing. Everybody does. Not these guys. They also find the car for you. I love these people. Good human beings that want to get you in a vehicle. If you have a problem with credit, they don't care. easyautofinancial.ca. No obligation whatsoever. Also, thanks to our friends at Domination, domination.com, helping people produce content, legacy content, and so fucking easy, too. It's super easy. One file. So this entire show, we'd feed it into the software. It would kick back like 75 pieces of promos, content, micro content, all that stuff, all with music and intros and extras. You got to try it. If you're a gamer, streamer, podcaster, go to dmntn.com and try it for free today. And Ed's Fine Imports and his Gitch. We wear his Gitch. You can too. edsfineimports.com. GITCH is your promo code with the number 3, GITCH3. Clothing from Ed Boys. Order online. He's got shoes. He's got pants, 34 Heritage jeans. But the big mover, of course, is his Gitch. It's luxury-made underwear, Canadian-made as well. Check him out today. edsfineimports.com. Gitch3 is your promo code. We'll send you a free pair when you order 3. He's good like that. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks to everybody for being on the show. I'm coming. Bye.